Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak show as it rolls on here. And I've got two great guests on Zoom video conference right now, Jeff Niten and Darrin Moody from the city of Shelton. Jeff is our city manager and Darrin is the police chief. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
I was going through the emails, and Mary Ricker, Communications and Government Relations Specialist, sent this out to everybody, say about a week ago now. And the city, of course, is dealing, as with everybody is, coronavirus and COVID-19. There is preparations under works for kind of trying to understand how the city will best work through this trickle down of revenue loss. Jeff, let's start with you and just what are you guys anticipating? Overall, I know it's going to be hard to get any kind of exact numbers, and then we'll move into the public safety part of it.
Sure. So we are anticipating revenue loss, no doubt. Sales tax makes up a significant portion of our general fund revenue. Sales tax is more than likely going to take a hit, but what makes projections for the city and specifically in government really, particularly in the state of Washington, because we don't have income tax, sales tax is one of our main drivers for revenue. The other thing that makes it very difficult for us to project is that sales tax actual receipts for the city lag about 2 months behind. So we get data this month, actually we just got it yesterday, for the actual sales in March. And that makes it very hard to predict going forward when you're trying to build a data set that you can project a trend line for. We're lagging behind. And it makes sense why it's a 2-month lag. Business owners pay their sales tax to the Department of Revenue usually on the 25th of March. So even if the sale was made on March 1, that's still remitted to the Department of Revenue at the end of March. Then the Department of Revenue takes all that and disperses it back to the city, and that takes about a month. So it's about a 2-month lag, but that does make our projections, particularly in this environment, very difficult to do.
So if you're just seeing the March numbers and this all really kind of took effect middle of March, was there anything in there that gave you pause or concern about how it's going to look as we move forward?
There is. We received the March numbers yesterday morning, and we're down a significant amount. Some of that was anticipated, though. We did anticipate a revenue drop just because the major infrastructure projects that were completed last year, we're not buying things for that anymore. So we expected that to happen, and that was anticipated and budgeted for. There was another revenue loss that was unaccounted for, unexplained by any other reason other than the COVID pandemic. And that is the one that's most worrisome for a couple of reasons. Our city council issued the emergency order on March 13th, but the actual stay-at-home order from the governor didn't take effect until March 23rd. So we're really looking at a week or possibly 2 weeks of actual relevant data that we can use to form a trend, which doesn't, again, adds to the kind of uncertainty about projections going forward.
A lot of folks consider one of the main essential portions of city government is public safety. And Chief Moody, we're bringing you in here now to talk a little bit about this and explain to folks a little bit about what you're doing in the police department and how folks may or may not see a change in either officers walking the street or, things like that.
Well, in general, I have to thank Jeff and the council because they've made public safety a priority. And, that includes our team of public safety here. It's not just the patrol officers that make up this agency, it's the civilian staff, code enforcement. So you're not going to see an immediate impact or an impact at all at this point on the patrol level. That's going to remain intact. Like Jeff said, who knows what the future holds in this? We don't know what we don't know. But I can say that public safety is a priority with the city, and you won't see an impact on the patrol level staff. Where you will see an impact is our lobby hours will adjust a little bit. And we'll be posting those so people are aware, because we may be looking at employee furloughs down the road. And that'll impact, what kind of, such as getting your gun permits, getting copies of police reports, things along those lines where people come into the lobby to get those things. That may be impacted a little bit with hours, but still should be able to handle everything just fine. But it may be a little variety of hours. And I'll, myself included in that, and Jeff as well, that we will become by default part-time employees if we go to furloughs, which will put us at, there'll be certain times where the chief's not going to be there, the city manager's not going to be there. Needless to say, we're both in these jobs where we understand that, yeah, we're still there and we're still going to get phone calls, and we don't get to have the day off and check out and go, okay, I'm on my furlough day today, don't ever bother me. That's just not reality. But it will affect us a little bit there.
Have you guys noticed, obviously with the Civic Center closed, the foot traffic is not coming through there, but if you were able to look at the last 2 months versus a snapshot of the last year of visitors through the Civic Center, either into the police department or upstairs into the city offices, now I guess would probably be a really good time to think about making those perhaps long-standing changes to office hours and visitation hours and things like that, especially if you have to look at this moving down the road.
So,
go ahead, Jeff.
So we have looked at that, but one of the things that we wanted to prioritize is being available for the public as much as we possibly can. Our purpose here is to serve the needs of the city and to serve the needs of the people who live in it, work in it, and would like to invest in it. While we will have furloughs, and that'll mean pay cuts for most of the non-represented folks, myself included, about 10% pay cut over the rest of the year, because we are, furloughing 1 day a week. That's 20% of your work, and for half a year, 10% is pretty simple to figure out. But we wanted to stagger those shifts and make sure that during regular business hours, when people expect us to be here, we are able to do that to the extent possible. Like Chief Moody was talking about in the police department, they only have 2 record clerks. So there may have to be some adjustments there, but wherever it is possible, we will be staggering those days off, those furlough days, to maintain the services that the citizens of Shelton come to expect.
How much of a conversation are you guys having with, and I know that it's pretty bizarre how this works. I know cities can't, cities and counties and states can't run deficits. The feds can. There's a lot of talk in Washington, D.C. about the next package of relief that's available and whether or not that it goes to municipalities, either states, then trickle down to cities. But all across the country, cities just like our size, 10,000, 12,000 people, are really struggling. Are you guys all trying to get together with their congressional leaders and saying, listen, this is a once in 100-year pandemic. We've been spending a lot of money. This is a necessity to keep us out of another depression. Please do what you can. We don't have the same abilities when it comes to budgeting as the feds do. So help us out here.
So we've talked to Representative Heck several times. We've talked to Representative Kilmer several times. Both of our senators in Washington State in their offices, Senator Cantwell and Senator Murray, have been extremely helpful in that they understand what our needs are and why they are existing the way they do at this time. Representative Heck knows probably better than most because he came up through the state, so he knows how state finances work. And we're very appreciative for their help and support. I think if the HEROES Act passes in its current form or some modified form, it would forestall a lot of the things that we are looking at having to be able to do, which, coupled with the lack of data points to form a trend, is one of the reasons why I'm trying to push back harsher measures until a little bit later in the year, because we don't know what that act is going to do.
Mhm.
We could have acted immediately and earlier, but those are guesses at that point.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with the public trust and citizens' finances, we don't make guesses.
And then,
Um,
oh, yeah.
I think that if that act passes, that would help our city out, our county out, our community out, and our entire state
Yeah.
from having to deal with these issues.
And that just
Yep.
seems across the whole nation there. Chief Moody and Jeff too, when the citizens of Shelton moving forward will interact with city employees, how is it going to look? Are the city staff, is everybody going to have masks, or the police department getting masks, or how's that going to be?
Well, we've been working, or I've been working with DEM and city staff, Department of Emergency Management from day one on this. And while I'd like to say the federal government, is going to come in and save the day, that's just not reality. And so we saw early on, and Jeff and I met, and we started going out to vendors that we had, going, look, we know what's coming. There's going to be a short supply no matter what you do. And yes, there are order forms that you can fill out for the state and federal, protective equipment, but that's going to be down the road. That's not coming tomorrow. And so luckily, Jeff and I were able to look at different ways of doing this, different vendors. Our Public Works department has been outstanding because there's a group of vendors there that nobody tapped for public safety protective gear. We were talking to welding companies, and luckily we were able to get our hands on enough masks. Some of the ones we got for the police department were very, very high-tech, heavy-duty masks for people who have constant contact. Public Works and us shared those. We also have regular masks to give to city staff. I made runs to Seattle to a sanitation company to get hand sanitizer. It's the little things like that we work together as a team in the city. We're able to get those equipment needs in place. And we have gotten orders through DEM of some other things to supplement that. But, we've been working nonstop with department heads over the last month to determine what level do we use PPE within the city, and what level do we expect the public to use PPE when they come into the city. I go back to the recommendations, which are, if you're in your own private workspace in your office, you're okay. I see people driving their cars with their mask on, and it makes me laugh thinking, are you thinking you're going to get yourself sick? And so we've told folks in the city, if you're in your own private cubicle or office and there's a low risk, then you're fine. But if you're going to go out into the public areas or have contact with other people, then you should probably be masking up. And Jeff's designed city policies around that for the staff, and we're going to encourage that to the public as we move forward with this. I know the courts are putting in implementations in the court system. Hey, don't come into court unless you got a mask, and if you don't have one, we'll find you one.
Starting to see directives all across the state from health officers on mandating that in some of the surrounding areas.
Since March on, our custodial staff here has been awesome. I mean, they go through the entire civic center where we're at least twice a day, and you see them with the doorknobs in the common areas, disinfecting and cleaning. We even hired a cleaning company to come in and clean the entire civic center and disinfect before we brought staff back.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have got some tough decisions moving forward in the next couple of weeks, leading on through the rest of the year, and we will continue to share with the community all the information that you have to offer there. Be safe, and good to see you guys. And we'll check in a couple of weeks. City Manager Jeff Niten, Shelton Police Chief Darrin Moody here this morning on the Daybreak Show. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.